cash a meal. And do it through the pain, I don't need a pain. And life gon' get me down, but it won't break my will. Cause I've been chasing this so long, I can't give up. I won't give in, been through too much. I done prayed for the money, I done prayed for the fame. I done prayed that I will make a sacrifice and play this game. I done prayed that my life would never be the same. I done prayed that I will make it bring glory to my name.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the NFL coverage. This podcast is brought to you by Final Form Supplements. Final Form Supplements, we have brain focus nootropics formula. What does that really mean? It's like a bunch of fancy words. It's basically vitamins for your brains to help you with focus, clarity, being tuned in to whatever you're trying to do right now. I take this before I go on campus, before I grade, before I study, before I do my research. I take these every morning before I get started on my day. Go to finalformsubs.com. Use promo code CoachStrib. It's CoachStrib, all caps, no space. Get 10% off your order. And check out other things we got on there. We got protein powders. We got BCAAs for recovery, creatine, joint support, multivitamins. We got it all. Just go in there and check it out. All right? Now, getting straight into it, an exciting week in the NFL. All right? And we're just going to go through, like we did last week, I'm going to go through week 3, which is the week that just passed, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to expect or what I'm looking forward to personally from week 4. Now, remember, I just want to let you guys know that when I'm talking about what I'm looking forward to, that's just me personally, what I'm looking forward to for week 4. So it's just going to be my personal opinions backed with a little bit of stats that I'm seeing, or a little bit of stats that I've seen from week 3 and kind of how the things are going on with a little bit of my expert opinion. Anyway, regardless, let's get started. I'm gonna try to go fast and try to keep these videos under 30 minutes. So if I seem like I'm talking fast, I apologize, but I'm trying to get through all of these. Alrighty, Thursday night we had San Francisco 49ers, the Giants. San Francisco 49ers, not really a big surprise there. San Francisco 49ers is one of the 3 teams that are looking above the rest. Generally, I'll talk about it later, but I feel like right now in the NFL, you have 2 tiers. There's just 2 tiers in the NFL. Well, 3. But right now, you have basically 2 tiers. You have 3 teams. You have the San Francisco 49ers, the Eagles, and you have the Dolphins that are kind of just up here in this tier by themselves, and the rest of the NFL is in tier 2. Now, there is a caveat. I believe Dallas, if there's a gap between tier 1 and tier 2, and there's a void, to me, Dallas is sitting on that void because we're going to talk about it because they did just take an L this past season. But I don't think this L is going to mean anything. I do think they're going to rally back. They're going to figure it out. I think it was just a 1-game kind of slip up. But right now they're in that void. If they continue to win, I'll put them up there with the rest of those teams that are kind of just separating themselves from the NFL. And then, if they go on a couple losing streaks, then I might group them in with that tier 2. They're the only team that's kind of in between tier 1, tier 2. We're going to have to see how they bounce back after this loss. But anyway, 49ers, Brock Purdy's looking good. You're talking Christian McCaffrey's looking good. Their receivers, by committee, you got Waller, Robinson, Campbell, Brightwell, and Slayton, all with, multiple catches for over 20 to 30 plus yards. So that everybody's contributing, that was the wrong one. Deebo Samuel. Let me backtrack. That was New York. Deebo Samuel. That's a bad. Now, he did get hurt in the game, but Deebo is out there doing what Deebo does. You put the ball in his hand, he's explosive, he's electric. He can easily, you put the ball in his hand on a short 5-yard crosser, he can end up scoring a 60-yard touchdown just because of how slippery he is. That's how I describe him. He's slippery because when he's out there and guys are trying to tackle him, he just sheds them. They get off of him. You can't stop him with the arm tackle. You got to wrap up. And even when you do wrap up, you got to run your feet because if you wrap up and fall, he's sliding out. He's just slippery. You're talking about 129 receiving yards and with a tutty. And then you also had Kittle with 90 yards. Their tight end, Christian McCaffrey, with 34 receiving yards to add to his 85 rushing yards. So you got over 100 yards of total offense from Christian McCaffrey. And you also get a touchdown from CMC. So, the team they just look a well-oiled machine out there. And their defense has always been good. Brock Purdy, 2 touchdowns, 310 plus yards. New York Giants, I don't know. Daniel Jones is playing I mean, he had no passing touchdowns. He threw an interception, 137 total yards. It's just tough. It's just tough. But San Francisco 49ers are looking good. Giants moved to 1-4. San Francisco still undefeated. Chargers, Vikings. This is starting to get interesting because now Vikings are 0-3 to start the season. So there's a lot of, I believe if they continue to lose like this season, I do believe there's going to be some coaches on the hot seat this year because they're 0-3. I mean, you got you have the top 5 receiver on your team. You have everybody would probably agree you have a top tier offense, or at least talent in terms of you have the potential to be a top tier offense, but they're just not getting it done. I mean, they scored 24 points offensively. Defense gave up 24. But you're talking about Justin Jefferson is just, he's trying to, you can see it in the interviews he's having. He wants to get it done, but it just seems like it doesn't matter what he does. They just can't get it done. He had 149 yards off of 7 catches. And if I remember correctly, he also went stupid the week before. So if we go back to week 2, if I can find the Vikings week 2, if I remember correctly, he had 159. So I mean, let me see week 1 real quick, because I think, where are they at? Week 1, 150. So the past 3 games, he had 150 plus. He's had 150 plus yards every game this year. He's on pace. He's averaging 150 yards a game, but they just can't get it done. Now, part of the problem is that the Chargers made some plays, but Herbert, 405 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 40 pass attempts, or 47 pass attempts, 40 completions. So really good completion percentage. And then you even had Keenan Allen on a trick play that throws 1 pass for 49 yards for a touchdown, right? Come on now Keenan Allen had him a game. He had 18 catches for 215 yards. Not only that, but Mike Williams, he got hurt, but he had 7 for 121. And even Palmer had 4 for 66. And Palmer had a TD, Williams had a TD. Keenan Allen did not have a TD though, besides the one he threw. But you talk about off in the air, they were just air raiding. They were getting anything they wanted against that secondary against the Vikings. So, moving forward, let's go to Commanders, Bills. No surprise here. We won't spend long on this. Obviously, the Bills are bouncing back. You know, they did start the season off rough, but now they're 2-1, second in AFC East. They won 37-3. So I think the Bills are starting to figure it out. I think they're just knocking that first game. They had to knock some rust off, first game jitters. But I think the Bills they're back to what we know as the Bills. Not Justin Herbert. Josh Allen, 218 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interceptions. A little rough, but 20 for 32. Not Dalvin Cook. I was about to say Dalvin Cook. James Cook, 15 carries for 98 yards. And then Murray got a TD. And then Stephon Diggs with 115 receiving yards. So Bills, they're starting to rally back up. Green Bay Packers, Saints. Interestingly enough, everybody thought Green Bay was going to be, piss poor with Rodgers leaving, but Green Bay's they're looking pretty good. Jordan Love has showed that he deserves to be a starting quarterback, and he can be a quarterback. What's his ceiling? What's his potential? I don't know. I can't say. I'm keeping up with as much as I can, but it's only his it's only his first time starting. First time as the is only his first time as the number 1 truly named starter. Now, he has started before, but he started due to injury. I'm saying this is his first time him being the starter for the season. So we'll just see how the season plays out. But obviously, him being behind Rodgers, I think, was a good developmental move for Green Bay. He got to sit back and kind of watch and learn from one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game that's still playing. So I think that was a good move by Green Bay to make sure that they knew eventually Aaron Rodgers was either going to leave in retirement or leave because of the contracts, which is what, he left because of all that. But I think they knew at some point Aaron Rodgers was going to leave and not be with the organization anymore, and they wanted to make sure that whoever's the backup would be able to carry that level of play. And he's been doing pretty well at that. Packers moved to 2-1. They won 18-17. That Saints defense, Saints, they got a potential, I think, to be a pretty good team, because all of their games have been low-scoring games because their defense has been just absolutely stout. I know the first 7 quarters of the season this year, so the first game and 3/4, they didn't give up a single touchdown. It was all field goals. And even now, they didn't really give up much. They only gave up 18 points. If your defense, if you only give up 18 points a game, then you're probably going to win more games than you lose, assuming your offense can at least, handle something. But anyway, Derek Carr, he had 103 passing yards. Now, with Saints is weird because they split reps between Derek. I don't remember if Derek Carr got hurt or not, but Derek Carr got 103 yards, and then James Winston got 101 yards. But they both played a decent amount. Oh, sorry. And in receiving, Michael Thomas had 50, and then Chris I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Olave, something like that. But he had a good game. He had 104 receiving yards. But the Saints get that done. Where were we? Oh, great. I wanted to talk about Jordan Love. So Jordan Love, he had 259 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And then receiving was pretty much by committee. Everybody contributed. And the run game was okay. I mean, Jordan Love, obviously the dual threat quarterback, so he had the most rushing yards, with Dylan being second with 33. Jordan Love had 39 rushing yards. Moving on to the Detroit Lions and Falcons. Detroit's looking like they might be a good team this year. I wasn't sure because they started off the season they started off okay, obviously, they started off good because they upset Kansas City first game of that was Kansas City, right? Yes, they upset Kansas City first game of the season, and then they took that loss last week. But now they beat the Falcons. The Falcons were undefeated up until that point with Bijan playing really well. But Detroit gets the dub, 20-6. I think it's Ritter. Ritter did 201 yards, no passing touchdowns. And then Bijan Robinson, I think Detroit figured it out. He only had 33 rushing yards off 10 carries. Jared Goff, 243, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. But Mr. St. Brown, 102 receiving yards, and Gibbs with 80 rushing yards. So Detroit is starting, I think, get the gears going. So we'll see how they work. Titans and Cleveland Browns. I don't even want to talk about this one, but Cleveland Browns just 27-3. There's not even really what happened here. There's not even really much to talk about. Titans, we got to figure out our quarterback position. There's no way, there's no excuse. Now, obviously, Myles Garrett is just playing out of his mind right now, and you're talking about that secondary for the Cleveland Browns is playing well. So, but Tannehill with 104 passing yards. Derrick Henry only had 20 rushing yards with 11 carries, 26 total rushing yards as a team. That's just not going to get it. D-Hop had 3 receptions for 48 yards. Again, the only points was a field goal. What are we talking about now? That boy Deshaun Watson is starting to get it going here. He started the season off a little but now he's getting better. He had 289 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 27 for 33 on pass attempts. So pretty good pass percentage. And then obviously with Nick Chubb being out of the running is by committee. But you had Amari Cooper with 116 receiving yards, 1 passing touchdown. So I think the Cleveland Browns could be like a dark horse team. I think Deshaun Watson is quietly playing a lot better than people or will give credit for. So that's another team to look out for. Now this is where the NFL starts to get interesting. Houston beats Jacksonville. I do believe earlier, episode 1 or 2, I said Jacksonville could be a sleeper team. That they could be a dark horse team. That they look good. They have potential to win the division. The division's not that good. But then they lose to Houston, which Houston has been a bad team for a few years now, basically since Deshaun Watson left. Even when Deshaun was there, they were decent, but I don't think anybody was expecting Houston to overtake Jacksonville the way they did, 37-17. But what I will say is Houston, even though it's still too early to tell. It's only week 3. We're going into week 4. But CJ Stroud has been playing well individually. Obviously, it's a team sport. So You know, Houston's got to figure it out defensively first. But C.J. Stroud, he's played well. He had 280 yards, 20 for 30 in completion with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I mean, his completion rate this season is about 65%. His QBR is 98, which is pretty good. He has 906 total yards. He's averaging 302 yards per game. You know, so it's like, I think C.J. Stroud, I think you give them a couple, obviously he's young, you give him a couple years learning the NFL, the speed, and learning defenses. I think Houston has the potential to be a solid team. All right, now moving on. Patriots, Jets. Patriots, we all know what to do. I think I said this last week that I think I expected the Patriots to win just because Bill Belichick, I was banking Bill Belichick. You're talking about just a chess master. And then he dime up that defense. Their defense has actually been pretty good. Their defense has always normally been pretty good, but I think their defense now is like really focused, and they're a very fundamental defense. They might not kill you with these explosive defensive plays, but they're just going to do their job, and they're not going to make that many mistakes, which is generally how these Bill Belichick teams work. And obviously the Jets are kind of falling apart right now. I've been watching a lot of sport news, and there's a lot of turmoil going on with people in the locker room. Zach Wilson's not the answer, but the team's backing Zach Wilson, and they signed another quarterback to the. I'm sorry, I'm yawning. It's been a very long day, very long week, and your boy's tired. But anyway, it's been a very long. The Jets, I forgot where I was going, but the Jets they're just going through it because, they signed another quarterback to the practice squad, but he's inactive this week, so. I don't know what's going to go on with the Jets. Their defense, I mean, still solid. Defense, again, all their games are low scoring. The Patriots only score 15 points. Again, if you only give up 15 points a game as a defense, you've done your job. It's the offense got to put points on the board. Holding NFL teams to 15, if a defense holds teams to 15 points a game for a season, that is a top tier defense. That's probably going to be a top tier defense in the history of the NFL with a stat like that. So I'm saying. The offense, you can't give me 21 points. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you hold teams at 15 points a game, you should be able to come away with wins. Now, this next game, we gotta talk about it. I gotta spend a little bit of time on this. The Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins. We gotta talk about this real quick. For people that are listening, I assume people that are listening or watching are sport fans, because obviously I don't think anybody would listen if you're not a sports fan. But if you are and you're trying to get into sports, you're listening, I appreciate the listen. But I'm going to talk to the people that are trying to become sport. Because all the other sport enthusiasts and all the NFL people, they know how bad this is. But those of y'all that don't understand, Miami scored 70 points. Let that sink in. Miami scored 70 points. They really could have scored more. They scored 70 points with 8 minutes left in the game. It might have been 8 minutes left in the third. I don't remember. But they could have kept their starters in. They could have easily broke probably 100 points if they had just went full throttle the entire game. The final score was 70-20. It's crazy. It's crazy. 70-20. 70-20. They're playing they play highlights all day long. Wow. 10 total touchdowns for Miami Dolphins. 10 total touchdowns. I don't even know if I want to pull up the stats. Actually, let's get into it. All right. We're not even going to look at Broncos. Well, but here's the thing with the Broncos. It's weird. Obviously, Sean McVay. No, wait. I'm tripping. What's his name? It's not Sean McVay. I'm thinking of Sean Payton. Sorry, I had to look it up. I don't know why I was thinking Sean McVay. That's Rams. Sean Payton. Everybody understands that he's a great head coach in the NFL because he was a coach with the Saints for a very long time. I believe he got a Super Bowl in there somewhere. I think he's on the hot seat. No, let me not overreact. Because this is his first season. You got to give him at least 2 or 3. Now, I think Russell Wilson is on the hot seat. I think he's at jeopardy of being benched. But here's the problem I have. Russell Wilson, he's not playing that bad. Now, he's making mistakes, but he's not playing that bad. Because let me just read these to you. Now, if you watch the game, there's a little bit of context there. Yes, I get it. But he had 306 yards. He had an interception. He threw a passing touchdown, 306 yards to 23 of 38. Cam Sutton had 91 yards and a tutty. Jerry Jeudy had 81 yards. Mims had 73. Williams had 23. He's distributing the ball. I don't think, to me, I think if Wilson gets if he gets benched or he gets like cut or not cut, traded or waived or whatever, I think that'd be a cop out. Not a cop out. What's the word? Scapegoat. Because if we're being honest, where is it at? If we're being honest, the Broncos' defense is the problem. Russell wasn't. Now, yeah, probably need you to score more than 20 points, right? But Broncos' defense is the problem. He has 305 yards. Maybe you take away that interception. They don't have 70. They have something else. But I don't think the offense is the problem. Now, third down percentage is terrible. They're 24th. Points, they're tied 15th, middle of the pack. Rushing, they're 20th. Passing yards, they're 8th in the NFL in passing yards. Their total offense is 14th. So their offense isn't terrible. You see what I'm saying? It's not awful. Their offense, all of it is a middle of the pack offense. It's 14th out of 32. Literally middle of the pack. Now, their defense, passing defense, 29th. Rushing defense, last. Points, last. Obviously, it's last because of the 70-point game. But third down percentage, 21st. Their total defense is second to last in the NFL. I don't think Russell Wilson is the problem. I think if you fix the defense, I think Broncos start winning games. Now, the thing is, I think Sean Payton is such an offensive-minded coach that I don't know how that's going to work. I think getting rid of Wilson, I don't think Wilson's the problem. I know that's a hot take, but I just really don't think he's the problem. His passer ratings, 99.5, 65% completion rate, 263 yards per game, 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we're on a time crunch. But let me just go over Miami real quick because this is just wow. Tua, 309 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. They put their backup in, Mike White. He gets a passing touchdown. He throws 2 passes, 67 yards and a touchdown. That's all it took. Tua only threw 26 passes. Scored 4 touchdowns with 309 yards. All right, rushing. Let's get into it. You got, I don't even know how to, you got Devon Achane. I don't even know how to say his name. 203 rushing yards off 18 attempts. 2 rushing touchdowns. Mostert, 13 carries, 82 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns by himself. Come on now. What are we talking about? Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 157 yards, a touchdown. Chosen, 1 catch, 68 yards. 1 catch, 68 yards, and a tutty. 1 catch, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. Mostert, 7 reception yards, 7 catches, 60 yards, and a tutty. Mostert's out there doing, he got 3 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. He's got over 120. Like, what are we doing? Arcane. It's ridiculous. We're moving on. We'll move on. Because I still got to get to the other half. All right. Colts beat the Ravens 22-19 overtime. I think Colts probably going to win their division between the Colts, Titans, Jacksonville, and Houston. I think it's going to come down to Jacksonville and the Broncos. Sorry, Jacksonville and the Colts. But you got the Colts beating Ravens. Seahawks beat the Panthers. Again, what's his name? Geno Smith. I think he's playing consistent football for the past couple of years. Cardinals beat the Cowboys. This is the game that kind of disappointed me. And this is the game I was talking about where Dallas is in that gray area because it's the Cardinals. Cardinals are an okay, this early, they're an okay team. Like they had lost to the Eagles, or they had lost to the Chiefs, or lost to San Francisco, then it'd be like, okay, that's another good team. But they lost to the Cardinals. So that's kind of why they're not quite in that tier. And the defense, they gave up 28 points. I was just expecting more from their defense, and they only scored 16 points offensively. So, but I do think they'll bounce back. Dak Prescott had 249 passing touchdown and interception. Pollard had 122 rushing yards off 23 carries. I mean, you talking about going crazy. And then Gallup 60, Gallup 92 receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb with 53. I think Dallas had bounce back. There's nothing to kind of like freak out. Chiefs beat the Bears 41-10. Pittsburgh beat the Raiders 23-18, and that was a tight game down to the end. And then Monday night, Eagles beat Bucks. Of course, Eagles defense is stepping up. I think Eagles are finally starting to, because they're undefeated. They were looking good early on, but they looked kind of like it wasn't their best game. They were playing like C+ games, B- games. Now I think they're playing B+, A- games. And then the Bengals beat the Rams. All right. So now moving forward, looking for week 4, these games coming up. I'm just gonna go over what I expect from some of these games. I'll see how much. I don't know how much time I have left. I don't want to go over 30. No, never mind. Anyway, I was gonna do something, but Detroit Lions Packers. Detroit are 1-point favorite. That's Thursday night. That's tomorrow night. This video is gonna come out Wednesday. I'm gonna put it out today, so hopefully people will watch before Thursday. But I actually think that might be an interesting game. I actually wouldn't be surprised. If I was an underdog better, I might bet Packers on that one. But I think that's gonna be an interesting game. I'm interested to see the Falcons Jaguars game, because I feel like Falcons and Jaguars are both in that same tier of teams right now. And I want to see who can bounce back first between these. I think it's a pretty evenly matched game. And the spread's, the over-under is -3. So they're expecting it to be a close game. Pittsburgh, Houston. I think I'll take Pittsburgh on that one. Any interesting? I think Colts will win against the Rams. Carolina. No, I'm not really interested in Vikings Carolina. I am interested in Vikings Carolina because I'm interested to see how the Vikings come back. Because I think if there's a team, like, they need to win right now, and I think Carolina is the team they should get the win against. So if they don't get this, I think this is when if you are a Vikings fan, if you're somebody a part of the Vikings organization, and you lose against Carolina, now you should be worried. I don't think you should be worried just yet. I mean, you should be a little cautious now. You're 0-3. I don't think you should hit the panic button. If you lose against Panthers, I think you might have to start hovering above the panic button. Maybe not press it just yet, but hover, because you go 0-4 and you lose against Carolina. You see what I'm saying? Moving next, Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. I think this would be the true test for both teams. I think if Miami beats the Bills, because we all know the Bills' defense is a good defense. Miami has a pretty good defense too, and both their offenses are very explosive. I think this game will be a test to see which team is more complete. And so I think if Miami beats the Bills, Miami, I think, will just ride this wave of unbelievable football, and I think they'll probably go unstoppable. Same for Bills. I think if Bills win this game, I think that one loss they had, they just knocking the rust off. I think the rest of the season, I think they're going to be just A-okay. Now, I think if Miami loses, I think whichever team loses, I think if Miami loses, it won't hurt as much because it's the Bills, which is a good team. Same for the Bills, but I think it'll hurt the Bills a little bit because they've already had a loss. They get a win. Now you get another loss. So now this starts to mess with your psyche because you start taking L's, and then there's that potential where the L's can start building up. I think with Miami, they get an L, say, okay, get their one L, they get their one L against a really good team. They can just knock it off, brush it off, and then keep going. So I do think this is more important for the Bills than it is Miami, but I think Miami is going to come in with the confidence. All right. And then who else? Titans, Bengals. I just need the Titans to win, and I'm interested to see two teams with terrible offensive lines play against each other. So That's going to be that Bengals are a 2-point favorite. I'll take the Titans on that underdog because I don't think the Bengals are that much better. And we have a solid defense, especially our front seven. And with Bengals offensive line, which they've gotten better. I'm not going to say they're terrible. I'm not going to say that. But the front seven we have, it's going to be a handful for Cincinnati. Broncos, Bears. I'm interested to see the Broncos because I think if Broncos lose against the Bears, this is kind of the same situation that the Vikings are in with Carolina. If Broncos can't get a win and go over Chicago Bears, an organization that's kind of falling apart like the Jets, but trying to double down on Justin Fields, and they're not seeing any results. The Bears are 0-3. I think if Broncos don't win against the Bears, then I think you hit the panic button. The Bears have already hit the panic button. They're already talking about Justin Fields. Their media is just slandering the organization right now. But obviously, it's two teams that have yet to get a win. So I'm interested to see how Russell Wilson handles this game, being a former MVP and a former a Super Bowl champion and a former MVP, to see how he goes into this game with the rhetoric around him about his leadership. If you know what I'm talking about, then it's okay. Raiders, Chargers, not really interested. Cowboys, Patriots. I do believe Cowboys will take this win, but I'm interested to see how the Patriots defense. I'm interested to see how Dak Prescott responds against the Patriots defense. I think Cowboys will win purely off their defensive play, like they did the first two games. Okay, the first two games, I think they'll win off a pure play of the defense. But I am interested to see how the Cowboys offensively play against the well-coached defense of the Patriots. I'm interested to see that for sure. 49ers, Cardinals, don't really care. Jets, Chiefs. I don't really care much. I am interested to see just the Jets defense perform against Kansas City, but I'm not expecting much from the Jets offensively. And Giants, Seahawks, it is what it is. But that's what I'm looking forward to next week. It's been an exciting week of football. But Thursday night's tomorrow, and then we'll see how things play out Sunday and Monday. And hopefully we'll catch you. Well, as a matter of fact, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, just go ahead and follow the channel. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. This has been another episode of the NFL Coverage. I will see you guys right here next week. Have a good one.
Destiny, I'm gonna chase my dreams. My life has meaning. On my faith I will lean.